from Consider Tech, and this is a video on the iPad Pro. That I said I would do in last video, or last of my videos, which was the SE, iPhone SE, or the new second generation SE, whatever. And I said that I would do this video, so here it is. You can check that video out in the corner up above. So let's get into this video. So right out of the bat, we're just on the iPad part right now. We're basically going to be talking about the new iPad Pro and the new keyboard, because as you can tell right here, it's supposed to be your next computer is not a computer, because it's going to be an iPad Pro. I mean, especially with that price tag, am I right? Anyway, I've used, so this is the new keyboard. It has a pass-through of a USB-C port, which is nice. It has, of course, keyboard, and it floats, interestingly enough, and it has a trackpad, which is mainly the big cool part about this new trackpad, or this new keyboard, called the Magic Keyboard, is the trackpad. So let's get into just talking about the new iPad Pro for now, and then keyboard after. So this is the new iPad Pro. So basically, as you can tell, it's basically looks identically to the old iPad Pro, or the third generation. I think they're on now. Yeah, I think it's third generation, or they're on the fourth generation now. Last generation was third generation. So looks exactly like that generation, right in the front. The only difference is the camera. It had one and a flash, whereas now it has two, a LiDAR scanner, and a flash. So it basically looks like an iPad, or a iPhone 11 Pro, but it's got iPhone 11 camera and then the LiDAR scanner. So with the prices, 11-inch starts at basically 10 grand, or $1,000. Okay. The 11-inch display starts at $1,000, and the 12-inch starts at $1,200, or $1,300 actually there. So for me personally, I would get the 11-inch space gray, 256 gig, and Wi-Fi, because I don't want cellular. So that puts me at like almost $1,200, which I can get a laptop for that price. I know a couple of you Apple fanboys, and I am one of them as well. And you've used an iPad Pro, and they are nothing like a laptop. You don't use them as a laptop. At least in my opinion, you don't use them as a laptop. You use them as an iPad first, and then they have that keyboard trackpad so that when you're at school, you're taking notes, whatever, it's just so much easier with the trackpad. I've used the trackpad on I have an iPad 5th generation, it's pretty old now, and I have a keyboard on it. I have a Bluetooth mouse, so I use it sometimes. And yes, it does not replace my laptop, not even in the slightest. But if you have a PC at home, which this is my laptop, but if you have a PC at home, you can definitely have an iPad as your laptop thing. Because I can see it as a laptop, I can't see it as a PC, because you can do anything on a laptop plus use it as an iPad. That's how powerful the iPad Pros are now, and they're really nice. But that's why I suggest the 11-inch, just because it's an iPad first, a laptop second, or a computer second. Whereas if you get a 12.9-inch, you're basically getting a laptop size at that point, and you're getting a laptop price too. Almost $1,430 is expensive, especially if you want to get cellular. That jumps up to $1,600, right? So it's expensive. I mean, it's very, very expensive. So let's go to the tech specs. And like Apple even says in their thing, it's like your iPad, your next computer is not going to be a computer, because it's going to be an iPad that you don't use as your computer. You don't use an iPad as your computer. You use an iPad as an iPad. right? Like the iPad Pro is still an iPad. I mean, it has iOS. It has iPadOS, but it has iOS. You can't do everything on an iPad that you can on a laptop, but you can do pretty much everything in a smaller form factor. And basically, for the people that go on the train and travel a lot, you get an iPad. You don't necessarily get a big laptop unless you definitely need it. So they come in 128 gigs, 256 gigs, 512, and 1 terabyte. Which 1 terabyte is basically for those people that either do some video editing or photo editing on their iPads, or they do, or they watch lots of movies on it. Basically, is all you should really get 1 terabyte for, unless you have the money for it, because 1 terabyte will get expensive, as you saw. And the 256 gig was only like $1,100. Well, what do you think the 1 terabyte is going to be, right? Now, like I said about the portability thing, you get it because it's portable. 1.04 pounds is extremely light. It's the lightest laptop you're ever going to get, right? Even the 12.9 inch is still only 1.4 pounds. So, very light indeed, actually. So, basically, all of this part is very, very similar to the old or the last generation iPad Pro, right? It's got the magnetic connector for your Apple Pencil. It has the 4 speakers. It has a USB-C connector. It has a smart connector on the back, not the bottom anymore. Things like that. And even the displays are the same. So you're not going to get much from that. You're getting a better chip, because the last generation was the A12 Bionic. This is the A12Z Bionic, which I don't know for sure. I have not seen the specs for it versus the A12 Bionic, but it's probably going to be just a little bit better, not much better. The camera's the same. The only difference is it comes with an ultra-wide camera, which is exactly on the 11 devices, the iPhone 11 devices. So basically, it has an iPhone 11 camera at this point. Like, it's got the wide, it's got the ultra-wide. The only difference is it has a LiDAR. Other than that, it's pretty much the same camera setup. Video cameras, it's basically the same all around. Basically, those are what I said is the only really differences that it'll have. It'll have different Bluetooth, probably, and that kind of stuff. But other than that, that's it. So, just going a side note into this why iPad thing. I just saw it here, so I wanted to look at it. It says, like an iPad, unlike any computer. Or like a computer, unlike any computer. Because it is. It's got a trackpad, it's got all that stuff. It's very similar to a computer in the way of Files app, now that they added that. You can do lots of stuff like that. Very similar to a computer. But it's not. You cannot not have a computer of some sort that you can do stuff on. Like, if you like to game, well, there you go, you need a computer. But I mean, if you're a person that only needs Word documents, you only want to edit photos on, you can edit photos on Photoshop, which it has full Photoshop now. Full Photoshop now. It's coming with full Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro. It's coming onto the iPad. So they are really pushing the whole, it's kind of like going to be a computer, right? That's their whole thing. The cursor helps you move around stuff. It's got gestures, that kind of stuff. It has this it has the dock, right, like any other iPad, but it has a dock. It has all that stuff. I would use it as a computer if I was just going to school and did not want to game or to do any hardcore editing or anything like that. I would totally use an iPad. I would still use an iPad actually right now, just because it's useful to just go into your go anywhere really with your computer, air quotes, and not have the heaviness of having a laptop or a computer. So like I said, see, it runs full apps just like Photoshop, so it's full Photoshop. Um, and yeah. So let's go to the new Magic Keyboard that we're going to talk about. So this is the new Magic Keyboard. As you can see, it has the Apple logo, of course. And it has, oh no, it doesn't have the Apple logo. Scratch that. It has trackpad and all that stuff. But it's $400. Now, is that worth it? No. Logitech makes one now for the Air, which means they're probably going to make one for the Pro. And Bridge makes one for the iPad Pro that actually doesn't have a kickstand, doesn't have anything. It just is a hinge, just like Mac. So, I mean, you basically have a Mac at that point. So that's my opinion, even cooler. It's got it has full mechanical keyboard. It has all that stuff that this doesn't have. So I mean, it has the keys up top, like this doesn't have. There's a couple other things that it doesn't that it will have that it doesn't. So personal opinion, good job Apple for making this. Now, another thing that the British doesn't get, or the Logitech gets, is this USB-C pass-through, which is useful because then you can lay flat docks, or you can use your laptop from either port. It doesn't really matter, and they're on either side of the iPad, depending on where your charger is. But honestly, I haven't had much of a problem with my Lightning port on my iPad for charging and docks I put on there all the time and stuff like that. I use my iPad like an iPad Pro. I shouldn't, because it is pretty old and kind of laggy now, but I use it anyways. But yeah, I mean, I don't have much of a problem with that whole USB thing. So it's cool that it has it, but I don't know. It's a little finicky. And like I said, with the mechanical keyboard, it basically has a Mac keyboard, so it's very chiclet. It's going to be like exactly like the iPad or the Mac, the regular Macs, MacBooks. Sorry, regular MacBooks. So like I was saying about the Bridge, it's called the Bridge Pro Plus. This is the keyboard. Like I said, it has the stuff up there for all your functions and stuff like that. Has the talking thing down here, and like I said, it's more of a chiclet styled more of a longer travel on the keyboard, and it has I don't know if I can. Oh, I can. So it has. No, I won't. Basically, it has the trackpad and it's got all that stuff. It's just, see how it's got a hinge here, so it hinges more so, or it hinges. It doesn't actually have a kickstand or anything like that, and it's Bluetooth, not connected via the connector that it has. But it's also only $200, not $400, so you're saving $200 on a keyboard. Yes, $200 is still kind of expensive for a keyboard, but considering then one of the other trackpad is I think 150 something, 100 and so see how it's on the hinge. Sorry, 200 bucks is not that much more for, and you're getting a full-on trackpad. You're getting all that stuff. As you can tell, it's kind of very based off of the Intel or the MacBook lineup. It's very tailored to the MacBook. So as you can see how he's using it there. So yeah, it's turning into a laptop. It is, but it's still not quite an iPad, or it's still not quite a laptop. And it has backlit keys that you can also change from this button, which you cannot change the backlit keyboard on the other one. It's just automatic, or you go right into the settings. Yes, it has a home button, it has a lock button, like I said, and you can change the brightness of the screen from it. You can change the key, you can bring up the regular keyboard, you can change to emojis or a different keyboard layout on screen, right? But it's mainly for emojis. You have the talker, the dictation here. You have the fast forward, play, all that stuff that you don't have on the other one, which is useful when you don't want to switch back and forth to your music app, whatever, to pause, play, skip a song, whatever. You can just do it from here. Same as volume. And then this is your battery indication for the actual device. I don't know exactly how much it lasts. I will look that up right in the text specs, and the off button, so you can just turn it off, the keyboard off, whenever you want to, and then just use it, and then take it out of it and just use it as a regular iPad. Now, going on to those specs about the battery life of it. Let's just see. So it weighs 1.14 pounds. So it weighs pretty much the exact same as the iPad Pro itself. So you're basically getting two iPad Pros, and it's just kind of going on there, which is a little bit upsetting. And now it charges via USB-C. So it has a USB-C port. That is extremely useful, because I used to have one that charged like that, or it had rechargeable battery on my iPad 5th generation. And it charged via micro USB, and the iPad charged via Lightning, so it was very annoying that you had to get two different cables, whereas this, you don't. It charges also via USB-C. Very nice. And doesn't look like it actually, it's all made out of aluminum, just like the iPad Pro. Yeah, rechargeable. Oh, here we go. So, the battery life is 12 months, or 12 months, at 2 hours per day. Oh, so 2 hours per day with no backlighting, it'll last 12 months. When running constant backlighting, 20 hours per charge. When running constant backlighting, so 20 hours. I don't prefer to run backlighting that often, so that's not bad. And then it's just rechargeable via a USB-C cable. So technically your iPad could charge your keyboard at that point, because of the USB-C cable. So yeah, that's basically the whole thing on the different. Please subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified of our videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays, unless posted on Instagram.